Hello there. As you may have heard by now, the biggest theft in the history of cryptocurrencies has recently taken place. The biggest so far. The Bybit exchange was robbed of around 500,000 Ethereum, what translates to an abstract sounding sum of $1.5 billion. But how did this even happen? Who is behind all of this? And what does the future hold for deregulated and decentralized crypto markets? I'll try to answer these and probably a few other questions with my today's guest. I'm joined by Lukas Mikula from Monethic, who deals on a daily basis with penetration testing on the blockchain and Web3 world. He's hacking applications and systems, obviously on the light side of the force. Hello, Lukas.
Hey, Mateusz.
Thank you for joining us. Tell me, when did you find out about the whole situation? Did you get woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call and saw 100 of missed notifications?
To be honest, nothing special about that. I was just casually scrolling Twitter, and at some point I started to see that more and more people are posting about some incident involving Bybit.
So it all happened on the 21st of February, 2025. And my Twitter was also flooded with the information. How is that possible that somebody just, walked away with such enormous amount of money? I mean, $1.5 billion in Ethereum. That's quite a lot.
Yeah. Also some side question, should we call it Twitter or X? Because it was rebranded recently.
I'm calling it Twixer myself because it's
Okay.
X and Twitter that's combined. Tell me, what are the parts of whole of this system? There were hot wallets, cold wallets. We need to introduce our listeners to the whole situation. And since the hack was related with the Ethereum blockchain, all of these operations were public. They were out there. Everybody can see where the money went. But there were involved different kind of technologies. Let's go step by step. What is a hot wallet? What is a cold wallet? And where are the keys that are involved in the wallets?
Yeah, so maybe we start with the keys and, in fact, what a wallet is, because we can think that a wallet is like a purse, a box with money inside, but that's not the case in blockchain. So essentially, if you are a blockchain user, you are able to do some actions that are called transactions. So sending money, receiving money, doing any other stuff, this is a transaction. And as a user, you have two types of keys, a private key and a public key. So the public key is associated with your address, so a number that you send money from and receive money to, like your bank account number.
So if we compare it to a banking, it's like a bank account number that you're sharing with someone saying, hey, please send me money,
Exactly.
Right?
And it's totally safe to share your public key or the address associated with that. But you also have the private key. So that's your true key that allows you to do some actions. A private key and also the public key is just a sequence of number and letters. It doesn't even resemble a key, just a bunch of some cryptic characters. But using some mathematical operations, you can take your private key and some input, which is a document, a sequence of data, whatever, and you put them both into a special equation and receive a signature. So the signature is derived from the, let's say, input data and your private key. And based on that signature and that input data, you could check using another special mathematical equation who was the signer, namely the address of the signer. But you will never get the private key. So that's why it's safe. And that's how the whole blockchain works.
So this is the source of the trust in the cryptographic system.
Exactly.
We can tell that when the signature is right, that somebody is owning a private key and he has or she has performed the action that is then stored into the blockchain.
Exactly. And that's how the blockchain itself verifies all its actions. So,
Okay. So how the keys can be hot or cold? Like where are the hot and cold wallets?
it is about type of storage of those keys. So we already know that the private key is some sequence of characters. And we could, for example, transmit it to an USB stick. A most basic form. The real cold wallets are a bit more sophisticated and more secure, but essentially, if you put your private key on a USB stick, that's technically a most basic cold wallet because it is not connected to an internet. So in theory, you cannot extract the key from it. Of course, you can because it's a USB stick, but again, real-world cold wallets are a bit more sophisticated. And a hot wallet is a wallet that is actually connected to the internet. It could be in a form of a mobile application, it could be browser extension, desktop application, anything else residing on your PC or your phone or anything.
So from the Bybit hack, we know that the cold wallet was attacked and they have stolen enormous amount of Ethereum out of it. How is that possible that cold wallet was attacked in that case? Because we need to introduce another term, which is called multi-signature from the world of banking. My understanding of multi-signature is a situation that is similar to the world of banking when you need few people to authorize operations. So even if one person is attacked or somebody stole the secret key of that person, nothing can be done. And multi-signature was used in the Bybit case, right? What is it?
So that's another type of wallet. Let's say we have a situation that we would like to create such wallet that requires few signers or few people to participate in authorization of every operation. Obviously, we cannot split the private key in parts because that's mathematically impossible. In order to achieve that, multi-signature wallet can be used, and this is a smart contract. Smart contract is technically software that lives on a blockchain, an application that lives on a blockchain. And you can have some balance of some amount of tokens or money or Ethereum on that. But in order to force it to perform any action, including, but not limited to sending money from it, you need signatures of few registered signers. So for example, you have 4 signers. You set a threshold of 3 people out of 4 have to approve the operation with valid signatures, and only then that wallet will send the money somewhere.
Okay, so we have a wallet that is living and it is being executed by all of the nodes that are executing the code on the blockchain, and then it happens. It's not a wallet that we have locally on our computer. Got it? We know that the Multisig wallet was used by Bybit. How was it used in case of that attack?
So in order to understand that, we also need to understand another factor affecting the Multisig wallet. So while it is a blockchain application and it has all those security measures we discussed, it also requires a user interface because the blockchain application or smart contract alone is just, let's say, an entity, a bytecode that lives on a blockchain. But if you want to interact with that directly, you probably would need to sign the transaction yourself. And basically, it's very inconvenient and error-prone. So that's why for easier use, you could use a user interface. So you could possibly visualize your transaction, see what you are really doing, and then just click accept and everything's fine. So in theory, it should make life easier, but in that specific case, the user interface was hijacked, and every signer that was signing that operation was not even sure that they are transmitting the funds to someone else. They were convinced that they were executing a legitimate operation that probably were done in the past and would be in the future. So
let me try to catch it. Normally, in order to interact, you'll do it over the terminal API, like just numbers. So the company that was providing that cold wallet solution provided also the user interface, and in that user interface, the things that the signers of this multi-signature wallet were seeing were different than the data that was actually transmitted into the blockchain.
To be honest, I think that no one really interacts with blockchain using command line, like maybe on the development phase. But later on, every blockchain app has a front end or some user interface that simply makes easier to use it. And also in that case, the Bybit or any other company that was using that wallet also had access to some user interface, which was supposed to show where the funds will go or what will be done.
So what's the issue? The user interface is out there. Is it part of the blockchain?
No, it's hosted elsewhere. In that case, it was on, let's say, traditional infrastructure on AWS Cloud S3 bucket.
Okay, and what happened out there? So if it's on the S3 bucket, it's different set of technologies. We're talking Web 2, not Web 3, right?
Yes.
And
That's simply a JavaScript and HTML. It was supposed to be a simple static page allowing to build the so-called payload, so the data that will be sent to the blockchain. Yeah, but apparently it was hijacked, which means that it produced different kind of data that it was supposed to be. So simply, the case was to compare it to something. So imagine you are doing a transfer from your online banking and you see the recipient account number, but right before the transfer is issued, the JavaScript inside changes the recipient account number and you end up sending your money to someone else.
so in this case, that was exactly the same, in the meaning that somebody was, instead of making the casual of operation of moving the money from the cold wallet to hot wallet or somewhere else, they changed the recipient and they also changed the value of the transaction. So a lot of Ethereum was taken out. So I understand in this attack that the attackers have changed this S3 hosted HTML JavaScript file that caused the changes in the interaction with the wallet, but they still have multi-signature. How they went through that?
To simplify things, they didn't only modify the recipient and the amount, because it was a more complex operation involving some special utility of Ethereum blockchain, which is named delegate call. And in simple words, it allows you to invoke any operation that is downloaded or fetched from a remote source, simply like a command execution on traditional systems. So what they did is they hijacked behavior of the multisig. So not only the transfer amount, but the behavior. And from the signer's standpoint, nothing changed. So this is also interesting, because that means that attack was very well prepared. Because if you, for example, compose some user interface in JavaScript and HTML and open it in different browser right away, you probably are going to have some broken UI or things will not look as they should. But to what is interesting, the signers did not see any difference. They didn't notice any change to the UI, so it probably was perfectly the same as it looks every day.
Well-organized attack, because they changed the static files on the S3 bucket after 20 minutes, so there was a very short window when they performed it. Tell me why? I mean, what happened that these change of files are out there on the S3 bucket? I'm expecting that in normal world, no one can change that. How did that happen?
Well, that's a good question, and I think that there is no publicly available answer to that. But you are right questioning that. I am also not sure how is that possible, because indeed, normally, if there is a production bucket that holds a very critical part of the UI, it should be first write protected. Any change to it should be allowed by other persons. It should be not possible that just one person changes the file and that's it. And it's changed. There was no monitoring.
So that's a basic access control and change management, right? That failed.
Exactly. And there was no monitoring. Like, no one noticed that, or maybe someone noticed, but it was changed so quickly that there was no time to react to that. And also another factor could be that even if there was monitoring and it said, okay, our UI was changed, who would expect this scale of attack? So that's another part.
That's a big thing. And that all started, according to the report, from the phishing against one of the developers.
That's also not, let's say, a sophisticated attack. Like, we don't know what that phishing was. Exactly, because maybe it was some kind of zero-day involved or not. We don't know that yet. But also there are more questions. If that was a phishing case, like how long the attackers were on the developer's PC, what kind of information gathering they ran, what information they also gathered, because that attack seems to be highly targeted. Like this UI was used by more companies, like many companies in the blockchain space. And they targeted specifically Bybit in that case. So they probably perfectly knew what they are doing and what they are going to achieve with that. So I believe that there was at least some period of reconnaissance or other kind of intelligence gathering before the attackers were sure how to proceed and how to orchestrate the attack in let's say in so short time span that right after the attack, the JavaScript was removed, the funds were laundered in a very express manner, and so on and so on.
So to follow the money, we're going to find out who was the attacker, the threat actor in that case. Because, as you said, after the funds were sent within 2 hours, majority of it was being laundered in the mixers. It was being exchanged whenever possible. We know that this operation was really sophisticated. And do we know who is behind it? I mean, who is the threat actor?
As far as I saw the public information, it was the Lazarus Group.
So APT38, North Korea, and I believe Zach XBT, which you can follow on Twitter, was the first one to point out that some of the wallets that were used by the Lazarus Group, by the APT38 in the past. So they were like, well, we don't really care. We will not create the new wallets. We're going to reuse what we have already. And Zach was the first one to find that based on the previous attacks on Femex, on BingX, and pinpoint that is APT38, Lazarus, the money is gone. I mean, the transactions were performed. We see that the money is being laundered as of today, as we're recording. Majority of it is already transferred to Bitcoin. Why do you think they stole Ethereum from the Bybit and not Bitcoin or something else?
Well, that's no say right away answer to that question. But I believe that it has something to do with how the attack was planned. So I believe that the idea of this attack didn't start with let's steal some Ethereum, but rather the group probably they already had some artifacts, like for example, initial access here, some information about asset A, some information about Bybit processes and so on. And based on the, let's say, landscape they had, they planned to execute this kind of attack. And of course, the fact of existence of this delegate call function on Ethereum made this easier. But in other words, I'm pretty sure that the attack was a result of some planning, like they made an inventory of assets they had, and based on that, they decided that okay, now we have this and this possible path of attack, and they executed it.
All right. We know that right now the crypto community is reacting. I mean, some of the funds were saved, hold on the part of the exchanges and so on. There is also a case reported by FBI where they're explicitly saying, hey, these wallets, if the money is coming towards you from these wallets, please block it, please hold it, and so on. So we have a reaction, which shows that there is the decentralization of Ethereum in that example is not that very decentralized. How do exchanges know where the money is coming from? Is it, the dirty money, or is it already laundered? What I want to ask you is how is it possible that some of the funds are right now being held in multiple places?
So as of now, blockchain is not really, let's say, 100% space free of any regulations or laws. It's not the Wild West anymore. Simply, there are a lot of controls in place. So first thing is that many of the, let's say, big players, the centralized exchanges and many big blockchain protocols are simply cooperating with law enforcement, with authorities. So that's the first case. Second case is that many of the, let's say, major stable coins or other major currencies have a built-in blacklist function or other kind of freeze function that simply allows, in case of emergency, and this is an emergency, allows to, for example, exclude some specific addresses from operating further. So, for example, if there is an address identified as a malicious one and funds are transferred to that wallet, then the operator of certain currency can click the button and it's blocked.
And it's that. So among the funds that have been recovered, there is a new bug bounty. Being ethical hacker, I know that you've taken part in multiple bug bounties. LazarusBounty.com, when they're looking and they're showing how much money was held, and there's like enormous amount of $140 million of that will be spent in the bug bounty to stop some of the funds and find out who was responsible for this. I believe that's a lot of money. Do you believe that some of the money can be stopped, or it's already too late? Because we know, as of now, most of it is already changed into the Bitcoin.
For sure, they can be stopped, but the question is, are, let's say, regular users or individuals able to do it? I believe that bug bounty is addressed more to centralized exchanges or blockchain protocols than to regular users, because a regular user has no power over other users, but an exchange or a protocol that issues new tokens definitely can do something.
So far, we have seen few preliminary reports from the hack. How do you assess their response to the incident? Because at the beginning, we knew nothing, right? Then we saw that some of the funds were being transferred. Now we have the initial reports. The Stack Exchange has not collapsed. It will cover the losses themselves. What's your opinion on that?
So first, we don't know what we don't know, but based on what we know, the report seems professional, and the response too, because the exchange released all the details of the incident. They were fully transparent with the information, and most importantly, no users suffered loss. So even though the money were stolen, and we know that those money left the exchange and are in the wallets of the APT, users still have their money. So I believe that's most important.
All right. Will this attack change anything in the grand scheme of things?
I believe that's another building block to the bigger focus on cybersecurity, especially in the Web3 industry, where it is very important. So definitely in the long term, it will make companies rethink their processes and probably pay more attention to for example, third-party or supply chain risks.
So, yeah, the risk of social engineering into the supply chain it's something that's happening over and over. I think that's an interesting lesson. Lukas, thank you very much for your time. I know that you're spending a lot of time pen testing nowadays with your company. Tell our viewers where they can find you.
So you can find me on Twitter. I usually post just some technical content, but if that's interesting for you, feel free to give me a follow. And of course, you can also find my company, which I am co-founder of, Monethic, where we do pen testing of Web 2 and Web 3.
Thank you very much, Lukas. I'm happy to see you again, because most of the time we're seeing ourselves on various conferences. So thank you for the explanation, and see you next time.
Yeah, thanks. See you.